Hey y'all, Greg here, Subtle Energy Mechanics. Welcome to my page. Welcome back if you've been here before. Today's going to be short, just tying some things together. And I have an invitation. I'm doing an experiment. So some of the things that I realized that, I've talked about are neurodivergent autism spectrum, trauma, complex PTSD, long COVID, chronic fatigue, intimacy challenges, isolation, anxiety, non-dual experiences, mushrooms, DMT, psychedelics, attachment disorders. I was listening to a podcast last week with Annika Harris, something that she said. So she's a consciousness studying physicist, maybe. I don't really know what she does for a living. She writes books and asks really interesting questions and asks them of different people and has a lot of neat ideas, I think. One of the things that she said was isolation was kind of the single biggest psychological issue that we have going on in our culture today. And something else that I heard recently was that isolation, the physiologic damage that isolation creates, is more dangerous than just having a regular cigarette smoking habit. And look what the heck has happened to cigarettes in our country. It's almost a shameful thing to even do it. It's just, you have to hide out behind a dumpster somewhere. They don't even let us do it in parks anymore. So anyway, here's I've been playing with this with my work. It was so profound in my own, not just healing, but moving forward in life, being able to figure out what was I here to do, and then find a way to feel to learn how to do this thing. And as you've seen in my videos, potentially is it's a weird looking thing that has something to do with maybe Kundalini, maybe chakra coordination. I talked about koshas and I've talked about safety and this vibratory experience of coming home. And not only coming home, but being able to do it in the presence of another person in this way that we use words like entrainment, where our systems actually start to mirror each other in almost a quantum physics sort of a way, a quantum entanglement sort of way, where we're actually feeling. And those of you who've done, psychedelics and have had an experience that feels true to say that you're actually feeling with somebody else, not communicating through words, but it was this authentic, deep feeling experience where the two of you were moving together. And that's the experience that fascinates me. Why I'm still here is, how do we create these experiences for others so that we can feel each other from the inside out, and in that internal witnessing and feeling of being witnessed, we're putting isolation to death. We're putting it down. We're coming home. We're coming home to the tribe, and it may not be graceful. It may be a coming home and oh my gosh, this feels fantastic in celebration. Then 2 days later, we're, oh my gosh, I'm isolated again. And it's this crazy ass roller coaster. So how then to make the experience that we've had, either if it's a Kundalini awakening in a Kundalini yoga class, or a handful of mushrooms, or some other experience that went up and it was amazing and then came back down, and you're back down in isolation now. So the question then is, how do we get into this non-dual experience and make it an enduring one? How do we keep it? How do we put it on cruise control? Keep it going. So that's the only question for me in with my work, is how do we create these experiences and change the physiology, including how we're looking, how we're seeing, what we're doing with our posture and our breath and our intention, our micro focus and our peripheral focus. Those are our tools that, with those in the right way, we can actually connect across what seems to be space, open space. We can connect and actually start to bring ourselves together. So I have an online training course, and I teach other providers to do this work. And this isn't a shameless plug for that, but one of the things that we do in our course is that we have weekly training calls. My thought is that I'd like to open up some of these weekly training calls to you if you're interested. I don't want to make a bunch of YouTube videos about these to a bunch of people I don't know. So what my thought is, I'm going to make this one. And if you'd like to know the dates and times for future events, that the best thing to do is to sign up for my mailing list down below. And I don't send out, maybe the last one I sent out was like a month ago. So I'm not sending out a lot of mailers. So I certainly won't flood your inbox with messages from me. But that's the best way for me to be talking with those of you who are really interested in figuring this thing out for yourself, right? That's how you know if it's a good fit for the work that I'm doing is that we're gathering under the umbrella of how do we get past our trauma, get past our belief of like, I'm neurodivergent, I'm broken. You may be neurodivergent, you may be dealing with trauma, you maybe have anxiety, really chronic fatigue, long COVID, you may be struggling. Like so many of us have been struggling with such big issues, but helping our nervous system through that struggle, through that issue, helping our nervous system actually find the others. There's ways that we can do that. So this coming Tuesday, October 22nd, on Pacific Coast time, California time, West Coast time, PST, 12:30. I'm going to be running my regular class, but what I wanted to do was to open it to anybody from here that sends me an email and says, yeah, I would like to join. It's going to be $20. If the people are in the membership, it's just included in the membership, but I'm just going to invite people. It's $20. We're going to go for about an hour and a half. We're going to do some breath work and some energy work and play with how do we safely awaken our body and our mind into this dream state, if you will. And in dream state, that's where the mind, brain, and the lungs can release DMT, which can be a great big dissolver of that which keeps us isolated. Because there's a boundary, there's a part of our brain that is busy keeping us separate, looking at things and changing our focus, changing our posture so that we can keep experiencing ourselves as separate from the rest of the world. And when we learn how to activate some of our endogenous chemicals and play with our focus and our posture in such a way as to be able to see that wall of isolation, of separation start to dissolve, and we can feel ourselves safely coming into proximity with others. Safely is the key word. It's not like blasting through and trying to break something down. We're not breaking down a brick wall because it's all light that's generated by part of our brain that's giving us the impression that we're separate. But giving us the impression that we're separate is enough to create misery, because it's a way of viewing the world. And so we need to change the way our body and our brain and our eyes are viewing the world, so we can feel back into a similar space with others. And I think that's part of the disease of our culture, is that we spend too long in isolation. Being isolated, being autonomous, being being me is a fantastic way, is a fantastic thing. When it's interspersed with coming together, tribing, familying, clanning in a very specific way. So we're not going to be using any psychedelics for this adventure. We're going to be playing a little bit with our breath, a little bit with our focus, a little bit with our posture, and we're going to see what happens. So if you would like to join us, or if you're going to miss this one, but you would like to be included in the announcements for future gatherings, subscribe to the channel, because I might pop up something else. Click the bell, because that's how you'll know that I've posted something else. And then, ideally sign up for the mailing list. Again, only if this is something that feels like it resonates with you. But tying all those things together is, what I've found with the people, the variety of challenge that people that I've worked with was that this isolation that the brain and body experience contorts the way that we experience energy and makes us resist or makes us cling, right? And those are the two main brain contortions to many of the spiritual meditative traditions. But that's also the attachment disorder. And it can also be maybe psychological disorders that then when they get out of hand, we really get lost. So that's what I'm offering is this experimental um, course we'll be doing on Tuesday, October 22nd, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm asking for $20. Seems like a pretty good deal. And come join us. We'll play. All right, thanks, y'all.